Alex had always dreamed of owning a small farm. He grew up in a busy town, surrounded by concrete and traffic. But his heart belonged to open fields, fresh air, and the peaceful sound of nature. For years he saved every penny from his work, imagining a place where he could grow vegetables, raise chickens, and live simply. Finally, after many years, he bought a small piece of land at the edge of town. The land was beautiful. There was soft soil perfect for planting, a small pond where frogs and birds played, and tall trees that shaded parts of the land. It felt like a dream come true, but there was a problem. The only road to his farm passed through a neighborhood controlled by the local homeowners association. The association was strict, and the person who had the most influence was Mrs. Karen Harris. She was well known in town for her strict rules and her insistence that everyone follow them exactly. Alex had met her once before buying the land, and she had seemed polite, but now she had a different side. One morning, Alex drove toward his farm as usual, only to find a sign blocking the road. It said that the road was private and that non-residents were not allowed to pass. Mrs. Harris had put up the sign. Alex was surprised. He had used this road for months without any problem. He tried to reason with her. He explained that his farm was his dream, that he needed access, and that he would maintain the road if needed. Mrs. Harris refused to listen. She said rules were rules and warned him not to enter the road again. Alex felt frustrated. The farm he had worked for years to own was suddenly so hard to reach. He looked at the sign and wondered if he had made a mistake. Giving up was not an option. His dream meant too much to him. He thought about walking through the forest or finding another path, but the land around the neighborhood was all fenced. The road was completely blocked. One evening, Alex sat by the pond watching the sunset. He thought carefully. He noticed an old drainage tunnel near the edge of the neighborhood, partly hidden by bushes. It was small, but it seemed to go in the direction of his farm. An idea came to him. What if he could use that tunnel to reach his farm? It would take effort, careful planning, and patience, but it might work. Alex began studying the area. During the day, he measured distances, observed the tunnel openings, and found spots where digging would be safe. He wanted to make sure the tunnel would be stable and secure. At night, he started documenting everything about the blocked road. He took pictures of the signs, wrote notes about his conversations with Mrs. Harris, and kept records of the neighborhood rules. He wanted proof that the road had been unfairly closed. Neighbors saw Alex spending long hours near the bushes and tunnels. Some asked what he was doing. Alex smiled and said he was exploring Old Town history. They thought it was harmless. Only Alex knew the real purpose. He was planning a secret way to reach his farm, a path that no one could stop. One night, with a small flashlight and basic tools, Alex started digging carefully in the old tunnel. He worked slowly, making sure not to damage the walls or make loud noises. The tunnel was dark and a little tight, but it gave him hope. Each step brought him closer to his dream. His heart felt light with excitement. By the end of the week, Alex had made good progress. The tunnel was safer, deeper, and closer to his farm. He paused one evening and smiled, looking at the dark path he had created. The dream of his farm was not lost. He had found a way to reach it, even if the road was blocked. Alex realized that this was only the beginning. The tunnel would not just give him access to his farm. It might also help him uncover the truth about how strict and unfair the neighborhood rules had become. He felt determined. With patience, planning, and courage, he knew he could protect his dream and show everyone that creativity and persistence could solve problems. Alex woke up early the next morning, feeling excited and determined. The tunnel he had started digging was small but promising. He packed a small bag with a flashlight, gloves, and some snacks, ready to continue his work. As he approached the tunnel, he noticed the bushes had grown slightly, but they still hid the entrance well. No one seemed to pay much attention, which gave him a little relief. He crawled into the tunnel, feeling the cool earth around him. The space was tight and he had to move carefully, but he felt proud of the progress he had already made. Each inch he dug brought him closer to his farm and farther away from the roadblock that had threatened his dream. Alex thought about all the hard work he had done to buy the land, and it gave him energy to keep going. While digging, Alex remembered Mrs. Harris and her strict rules. He realized that she had never really understood what owning a farm meant. For her, rules and control were more important than people's dreams. Alex did not feel angry, but he felt more motivated. He wanted to reach his farm not only for himself but also to prove that determination and clever thinking could overcome unfair obstacles. Days passed, and Alex continued his work. He started measuring the tunnel more carefully, marking the wall so he could keep the path straight. He reinforced weak spots with wooden planks he found in an old shed nearby. Sometimes the earth would crumble slightly, but he learned to work patiently, slowly making the tunnel safe and stable. He began to feel like an explorer discovering a secret world under the neighborhood. One afternoon, as Alex paused to rest, he thought about the farm. He imagined planting rows of vegetables, seeing chickens pecking in the yard, and sitting by the pond in the evening. These thoughts made the work feel lighter and fun. Even though digging the tunnel was tiring, it became exciting because he was creating his own secret path to happiness. Alex also decided to keep a record of everything he did. He drew maps of the tunnel, took photos of the work, and wrote notes about the distance and depth. He knew that one day this information could be useful if he needed to explain his actions to anyone. Being organized helped him feel confident and smart. One night, after a long day of digging, Alex reached a part of the tunnel where the ground was harder. It was near the edge of his farm, and he knew he was close. He carefully removed the last layers of soil, working slowly to avoid making noise. Finally, he saw the soft grass of his land through a small opening. Alex's heart raced with joy. He had reached the farm. He pushed aside a few more stones and crawled out. Standing on his own land, Alex felt a wave of happiness. The farm was just as beautiful as he had imagined. The pond reflected the moonlight. The trees swayed gently and the soft soil was ready for planting. He walked around, touching the grass, and realized that all the hard work in the tunnel had been worth it. For the next few days, Alex used the tunnel to move back and forth between his farm and the neighborhood without anyone noticing. He started cleaning the farm, planting small vegetables, and preparing for chickens. Every time he entered, he felt a sense of freedom and excitement. The farm was becoming real, and the blocked road no longer mattered. At the same time, Alex began thinking about Mrs. Harris and the HOA. He knew that simply having the tunnel was not enough. The rules were unfair, and other people in the neighborhood might face similar problems in the future. He decided to gather more evidence of the HOA's actions, including photos, records, and notes about conversations. He wanted to show that fairness and rules could exist together, and that people should not be stopped from reaching their own property. Alex worked quietly but confidently. Each day, he became more skilled at using the tunnel and managing his farm. He realized that the challenge he faced had made him stronger, more creative, and more patient. The tunnel was not just a secret passage. It was a symbol of his determination and love for his dream. By the end of the week, Alex stood by his pond and looked at the farm under the soft light of the evening. He smiled, knowing he had won the first battle. The roadblock no longer controlled him. With courage, clever thinking, and careful planning, he had taken the first step toward protecting his dream and exposing the unfair rules that had tried to stop him. Alex was thrilled to finally have access to his farm. Every morning he woke up early, excited to see the sunlight shining on the fields and hear the soft sound of birds in the trees. The tunnel had become his secret passage, a quiet way to move between his farm and the town without facing the blocked road. He felt a sense of freedom that made all the hard work worthwhile. The first task Alex gave himself was to make the farm ready for planting. He carefully tilled the soil, removing small stones and debris. He planted seeds for vegetables that would grow quickly, like lettuce, radishes, and carrots. As he worked, he thought about how the farm would look in a few months, full of green plants and colorful flowers. The thought made him smile. Alex also wanted to keep his farm safe. Although the tunnel was secret, he knew it would be smart to mark it clearly from the inside, so he would not get lost while carrying tools or supplies. He used small pieces of cloth tied to the walls and wooden markers he had found in the shed. The tunnel was beginning to feel more like a passage he had created himself, a secret bridge to his dreams. While enjoying the farm, Alex never forgot Mrs. Harris and the HOA. The way they blocked the road seemed unfair and unnecessary. He realized that others in the neighborhood might also face similar problems if someone wanted to use land nearby. Alex decided that he needed to gather evidence not only for himself but for fairness. He started keeping notes of everything, the signs blocking the road, letters sent by the HOA, and records of conversations with Mrs. Harris. One day, Alex walked near the edge of the neighborhood to take photographs of the blocked road. He noticed other people looking at him curiously, but no one asked questions. He smiled politely and continued, knowing that documenting these details could be important. Alex also checked the tunnel for safety, making sure the walls were strong and the path clear. Each day, he became more skilled at moving through it without making noise. As he worked, Alex began thinking of ways to show the town that the HOA's rules were unfair. He wanted to do it carefully without anger or confrontation. He planned to present facts, photos, and notes, showing the community what had happened and explaining that rules should protect everyone, not just a few people in control. The idea of fairness became his motivation, giving him more energy to maintain the farm and the tunnel. Alex also started building small fences around parts of the farm. These fences were meant to organize areas for planting vegetables, raising chickens, and keeping the pond clean. He enjoyed arranging the space, imagining children visiting the farm, friends coming to help, and neighbors admiring the green fields. Each step he took on the farm made it feel more alive, more real, and more like a place where dreams could grow. In the evenings, Alex sat by the pond, looking at the reflection of the trees and the sky. He thought about how much he had learned in just a few weeks. Patience, planning, and careful work had helped him create the tunnel and make the farm accessible. He realized that challenges could bring new skills and a sense of satisfaction that nothing else could give. While enjoying these quiet moments, Alex also planned the next steps. He wanted to make a clear case against the unfair roadblock. He thought of writing a report for the town council, including photos, notes, and maps of the tunnel and blocked road. He knew that if he approached the problem calmly and carefully, he could help not only himself but others in the neighborhood who might face similar issues in the future. Alex's farm was no longer just a dream. It was a place of learning, planning, and quiet joy. The tunnel had given him access, but his careful work and determination had given him confidence. He felt ready for whatever came next, knowing that with patience and clever thinking, he could protect his dream, enjoy his farm, and also work toward fairness in the neighborhood. By the end of the week, Alex walked through the farm one more time, smiling at the green sprouts, the pond, and the trees. He knew that his work was far from over, but the first steps had been successful. The tunnel, the notes, and the farm itself were all pieces of a plan that could bring hope and fairness. Alex felt proud, ready to continue his journey, and determined to show that creativity and patience could solve even the toughest challenges. Alex had now been using his farm for several weeks, and every day felt more rewarding than the last. The tunnel had become part of his daily routine, a quiet way to move between the town and his dreamland. He had planted vegetables, set up small fences, and even built a little corner for chickens. Each step he took made the farm feel more alive, more like a home he had worked so hard to create. But Alex knew that the roadblock by Mrs. Harris and the HOA was not just an inconvenience. It was unfair, and he wanted to make things right. He could enjoy his farm secretly, but he also wanted others to understand what had happened. He began thinking carefully about how to gather evidence and present it in a way that was clear, respectful, and convincing. He started by organizing his notes and photos. Every letter from the HOA, every conversation with Mrs. Harris, and every sign blocking the road was documented. He even drew a map of the neighborhood, showing exactly how the road to his farm had been blocked. Alex believed that facts and careful planning could show the truth better than anger or arguments ever could. One afternoon, Alex decided to explore the neighborhood quietly. He wanted to see if other residents had faced similar problems, or if they had noticed the strict rules. He walked politely through the streets, smiling and greeting people. Some neighbors smiled back, while others kept busy with their own tasks. No one questioned his presence, which gave Alex a chance to take more photos of the roadblock and the surroundings. Back at the farm, Alex reviewed the evidence he had gathered. He realized that the unfair rules were not only affecting him, but also the community's sense of fairness. He wanted to show that rules should help everyone, not only the people in charge. With this in mind, Alex began writing a report. He included all the facts, carefully describing what had happened, and explained how the roadblock affected his access to the farm. His writing was calm, clear, and persuasive. Meanwhile, the farm continued to grow. Alex planted more vegetables and arranged the garden in neat rows. The chickens clucked happily in their small corner, and the pond became a place where frogs and birds visited regularly. Every morning, the farm greeted him with a sense of calm and joy. The physical work, combined with the planning to address the HOA, kept him focused and hopeful. Alex also started thinking about how to present his evidence to the town council. He wanted to speak honestly but respectfully, showing both the facts and the positive work he had done on the farm. He made sure to include photos of the tunnel, showing that it was a safe and creative solution, not a reckless act. He wanted the council to see that he had acted responsibly, even when faced with unfair obstacles. At the same time, Alex continued to use the tunnel for his farm work. It gave him a sense of independence and freedom. He even cleaned and reinforced parts of it, making sure that it was safe for regular use. The tunnel had become more than a secret path. It was a symbol of his determination and careful thinking. One evening, as the sun set over the fields, Alex sat by the pond and looked at the vegetables growing in neat rows. He thought about the future. Soon, he would be able to present his evidence, show the town what had happened, and hopefully help create a fair solution for himself and others. He felt proud that he had stayed calm, collected, and patient throughout the process. Alex realized that the challenge of the blocked road had taught him many things. It had shown him the value of careful planning, creativity, and perseverance. It had also shown him that fairness and patience could overcome even strict rules. He felt confident that his farm, combined with the evidence he had collected, could bring attention to the situation in a positive and productive way. By the end of the week, Alex felt ready to take the next step. The farm was thriving, the tunnel was safe, and the evidence was organized. He knew he could face the town council with confidence, presenting his case respectfully and clearly. Alex smiled as he looked at the pond reflecting the evening sky, feeling proud of how far he had come. His journey was only beginning, but he knew that with determination, careful work, and honesty, he could protect his dream and bring fairness to the neighborhood. Alex knew that the next step was important. The tunnel had given him access to his farm, and the vegetables and chickens were thriving, but the roadblock still existed. Mrs. Harris and the HOA had created rules that affected not only him, but also the fairness of the neighborhood. Alex wanted to do something about it, and he decided to present his evidence to the town council. He spent several days organizing everything. He collected photos of the blocked road, the signs and letters from the HOA. He even included a map showing the tunnel and how it connected safely to his farm. Alex made notes explaining how the blocked road had prevented him from enjoying his property, and how he had worked responsibly to create access without disturbing anyone. He wanted the council to understand that his solution was careful and fair. The day of the council meeting arrived, and Alex felt a mixture of nervousness and determination. He dressed neatly and carried his folder of evidence. As he entered the council building, he noticed people moving around quietly, some speaking in soft voices. Alex took a deep breath and reminded himself that he had worked hard and acted responsibly. He had nothing to hide. When it was his turn to speak, Alex walked to the front and calmly addressed the council members. He explained his situation clearly, describing how he had purchased the farm, the blocked road, and the difficulties he faced. He showed the photos, the letters, and the map of the tunnel. He emphasized that he had acted responsibly and that the tunnel was safe and hidden, created only to reach his property without causing problems. The council members listened carefully. Some nodded as they looked at the photos and notes. Alex explained that the roadblock was not only unfair to him, but could also set a bad example for others in the neighborhood. Rules should protect everyone, he said, not just a few people in charge. His calm and clear explanation made a strong impression. After Alex finished, some council members asked questions. They wanted to know how he had ensured the tunnel was safe, how the farm was being cared for, and why he had not used legal options sooner. Alex answered honestly, explaining that he had chosen the tunnel carefully to avoid conflict, and that the farm was well maintained and safe. He showed his notes and photos to support every answer. As the discussion continued, Alex noticed that some neighbors were watching with interest. A few even smiled and whispered that they agreed with him. The council members seemed to appreciate his patience and clear presentation. Alex felt a quiet confidence. He knew that he had done everything responsibly and that the facts were on his side. At the end of the meeting, the council promised to review the situation. They said they would investigate the roadblock and the actions of the HOA to determine if the rules had been applied fairly. Alex thanked the members politely and left the building. Walking outside, he felt a wave of relief. The first step toward justice had been taken, and he had done it with honesty and careful planning. Back at the farm, Alex reflected on the day's events. The farm had grown even more since he started planting, and the chickens were happily exploring their small corner. He felt proud that he had protected his dream while staying calm and respectful. The tunnel, the careful notes, and the work he had done were all part of a plan that was beginning to show results. That evening, as the sun set and painted the sky with soft colors, Alex sat by the pond. He thought about the journey so far, the blocked road, the secret tunnel, and the careful planning that had allowed him to reach his farm and gather evidence. He realized that patience and determination were powerful tools. Even when obstacles seemed impossible, thinking carefully and acting responsibly could bring solutions. Alex smiled at the reflection in the water. His farm was thriving, his evidence was ready, and the town council had agreed to look into the situation. He felt confident that fairness would prevail, and that his careful, thoughtful approach had made a difference. The journey was not over, but Alex knew he had taken the right path. After the council meeting, Alex returned to his farm with a sense of hope. The vegetables were growing steadily, the chickens explored their little corner happily, and the pond reflected the soft morning sunlight. The farm had become a place of calm and joy, a reward for all the hard work and patience he had shown. A few days later, Alex received a letter from the town council. They had begun investigating the blocked road and the actions of the HOA. The council wanted to review the neighborhood rules and the evidence Alex had provided. Alex felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Finally, his careful work and planning might bring fairness and clarity to the situation. While waiting for the council's decision, Alex continued to care for his farm. He planted new vegetables, repaired small fences, and even built a tiny shed for tools. Each day he spent on the farm reminded him why he had worked so hard. The farm was not just a place to grow food. It was a symbol of his determination and creativity. Alex also started talking to a few neighbors quietly. Some had noticed the strict rules and the way Mrs. Harris managed the neighborhood. They shared small stories of similar problems like blocked paths or confusing rules. Alex listened carefully and took notes, realizing that his case was part of a larger pattern. He decided to keep all this information, not for confrontation, but to help show the council that fairness was important for everyone. One evening, while checking the tunnel, Alex noticed something interesting. A small portion of the neighborhood had an old map hidden in public records. The map showed paths and access points that no one had used in years. Alex realized that these old paths could support his claim that the blocked road had been unfairly restricted. He carefully photographed the map and added it to his growing collection of evidence. The following week, Alex was invited to meet a council representative in person. He brought all his notes, photos, and maps. The representative listened carefully as Alex explained the blocked road, the tunnel, and the work he had done on his farm. Alex spoke clearly and respectfully, showing that he had acted responsibly and thoughtfully. The council member was impressed by Alex's careful planning and patience. During the meeting, Alex also mentioned the neighbors' experiences. He explained that the HOA's strict rules had created confusion and frustration for many people. The representative took notes and said they would consider this information as part of the investigation. Alex felt confident that fairness was being considered and that his careful documentation was helping the council understand the bigger picture. Back at the farm, Alex reflected on how much he had learned. The tunnel had taught him patience and creativity. The council meetings had taught him the value of careful planning and respectful communication. And caring for the farm had shown him the joy of nurturing something over time. Each part of his journey had made him stronger, more thoughtful, and more confident in handling challenges. One evening, Alex sat by the pond and watched the sun set behind the trees. He thought about Mrs. Harris and the HOA. They had tried to stop him, but his careful planning, patience, and determination had allowed him to continue pursuing his dream without breaking rules. Alex realized that obstacles could be opportunities to learn and grow, and he felt proud of how he had handled the situation. A few days later, the town council sent another letter. They had started to review the HOA's actions more closely. Some members of the neighborhood were also invited to share their experiences. Alex felt a sense of relief and quiet satisfaction. His efforts, the tunnel, the farm, and the careful documentation were all beginning to make a difference. Standing on the soft grass of his farm, Alex smiled. He knew the journey was not over, but he also knew that he had taken the right steps. His farm was thriving, the evidence was organized, and the council was listening. Patience, creativity, and honesty had guided him this far, and Alex was ready to continue, confident that fairness would prevail. Alex felt a sense of quiet excitement as he worked on his farm one morning. The vegetables were growing taller, the chickens moved happily in their small corner, and the pond reflected the bright sunlight. But more than the farm, Alex was thinking about the town council. The investigation into the HOA's rules was moving forward, and he felt that fairness was finally within reach. Over the next few days, council members visited the neighborhood to gather information. Alex had prepared carefully. He shared his notes, photos, and maps explaining how the roadblock had prevented him from reaching his farm. He also mentioned the old paths he had discovered and how the tunnel had allowed him to reach his land safely. The council members were impressed by Alex's detailed records and careful planning. As the investigation continued, Alex spoke quietly with a few neighbors. Many of them admitted they had noticed unfair rules or restrictions in the past, but had not felt confident enough to speak up. Alex encouraged them to share their experiences with the council. He reminded them that fairness and clear rules were important for the entire community. Slowly, neighbors began to come forward, adding their observations to the council's review. Alex also continued working on his farm. He planted more vegetables, organized the garden, and added a small area for fruit trees. Each step reminded him why he had worked so hard for this place. The farm was becoming more than just land. It was a space of learning, patience, and growth. Every day he spent caring for it strengthened his determination to resolve the situation with the HOA responsibly. One afternoon, a council member called Alex to share some preliminary results. They had found evidence that the HOA had not followed proper procedures when blocking the road. Several rules had been applied unfairly, and residents had been prevented from using paths they were legally allowed to access. Alex felt a mixture of relief and quiet pride. His careful documentation and patient approach were paying off. Alex decided to use this opportunity to plan a final presentation to the council. He wanted to summarize everything clearly, showing how the roadblock had affected him and others and how his tunnel solution had been responsible and safe. He prepared photos, maps, and detailed notes. He practiced speaking clearly, ensuring that he could explain the situation calmly and respectfully. When the day came, Alex presented his case in front of the council. He spoke with confidence, sharing all the details and emphasizing fairness for everyone in the neighborhood. He showed how he had maintained his farm, used the tunnel responsibly, and documented every step. The council members listened attentively, asking questions that Alex answered thoughtfully. Meanwhile, the neighbors who had shared their experiences with Alex also provided statements. They spoke about blocked paths, unclear rules, and situations where the HOA had acted unfairly. Alex felt proud that he had encouraged them to speak up. Together, they presented a clear and honest picture of the issues in the neighborhood. After the presentation, the council thanked Alex and the neighbors. They promised to take action to ensure the HOA's rules were applied fairly. Alex left the meeting feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. He had worked patiently, documented carefully, and acted responsibly. The roadblock that had once seemed impossible to overcome was finally being addressed. Back at his farm, Alex reflected on the journey. The tunnel had allowed him to reach his land. The farm had grown beautifully, and his careful planning had brought attention to unfair rules. He smiled as he looked at the vegetables in the pond. Every challenge he had faced had taught him patience, creativity, and the importance of fairness. As the sun set, painting the sky in soft colors, Alex felt a sense of hope. The council's actions promised change, and his farm was thriving. He had turned a difficult situation into an opportunity to learn, grow, and help others. With determination, responsibility, and careful planning, Alex knew he could face any challenge while protecting his dream and encouraging fairness in the community. Alex woke up early, feeling a mixture of excitement and calm satisfaction. The farm had grown beautifully over the past weeks. The vegetables were healthy and green, the chickens moved happily in their little corner, and the pond reflected the bright morning sunlight. But more than the farm, Alex was thinking about the results of the council investigation into the HOA's actions. A letter arrived that morning from the town council. It explained that after reviewing all the evidence, including Alex's notes, photos, maps, and the statements of neighbors, the council had decided that the HOA's actions were unfair. They had blocked the road without proper authority and had not followed correct procedures. The letter stated that the road to Alex's farm must be reopened immediately, and that the HOA would have to ensure rules were applied fairly for all residents. Alex felt a rush of joy and relief. Years of hard work, patience, and careful planning had finally paid off. He smiled as he walked through the farm, looking at the vegetables, the chickens, and the pond. The tunnel had been a clever solution, but now the roadblock would no longer limit him. He realized that his persistence and thoughtful approach had created change, not just for him, but potentially for other residents in the neighborhood as well. That day, Alex went to the neighborhood and saw the road reopened. The sign blocking access was gone and the path was clear. Neighbors who had once seemed hesitant now smiled and waved. Some even thanked Alex quietly, acknowledging that his careful work had helped bring fairness to the community. It was a moment of satisfaction and pride. Alex realized that standing firm, acting responsibly, and thinking creatively had made a real difference. Back at the farm, Alex decided to continue improving the land. He added more vegetables, organized the garden neatly, and planted a few fruit trees. Each new task reminded him that hard work, patience, and creativity always bring rewards. The farm was no longer just a dream. It was a thriving place where he could enjoy peace, growth, and learning every day. Alex also thought about the neighbors and the HOA. He knew that the experience had taught them an important lesson about fairness and responsibility. By showing respect, presenting facts, and encouraging others to share their experiences, Alex had helped create understanding. He hoped that the neighborhood would now use rules wisely, ensuring fairness for everyone in the future. The tunnel, which had once been his secret path, had served its purpose. Alex maintained it carefully, but now it was more of a reminder of the clever thinking and determination that had helped him overcome obstacles. Each time he looked at the tunnel, he remembered the nights of careful digging, planning, and hope. It was a symbol of patience and persistence, a part of his journey that had led to a positive result. One evening, Alex sat by the pond, watching the reflection of the setting sun. He felt calm and proud. The farm was safe, the road was open, and the council had acted fairly. His journey had begun with a blocked path, but it ended with a thriving farm, happy neighbors, and a lesson in patience, responsibility, and creative thinking. Alex realized that challenges in life were not just obstacles but opportunities to grow. By staying calm, planning carefully, and acting responsibly, he had protected his dream while helping others. He had discovered that fairness and persistence could bring results even in difficult situations. As the stars appeared in the sky, Alex walked through the farm one last time for the day. The vegetables swayed gently in the evening breeze, the chickens settled in their corner, and the pond reflected the twinkling stars. He smiled, feeling grateful for the journey, the farm, and the lessons he had learned. The blocked road was no longer a problem, and his dream had become a reality. Alex knew that this experience had changed him. He had learned the value of patience, careful planning, and honesty. The farm was a place of growth, not just for plants and chickens, but for his own spirit and determination. He felt ready for the future, confident that no obstacle could stop him if he stayed thoughtful, persistent, and fair. The journey had begun with a blocked road and a secret tunnel, but it ended with a thriving farm, fairness restored, and a community that could learn from his example. Alex smiled, knowing that his dream had been protected, his efforts rewarded, and the neighborhood had been shown the importance of fairness, creativity, and determination.